2, 1.
In movie watching, basically, it's just a very different feeling. It's not a flat screen; it's a dome. You have a real different sense of where you are. The sound capabilities inside are incredible.
Lord, I am not worthy to receive you. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. I think the Irish culture is just a wonderful thing, a love of poetry, a love of language, to be articulate, to be able to express yourself with verve and panache and a little colour, and music. Come to know our Irish culture a little bit more, and I think anyone would be enriched and nourished and deepened by the whole experience.
Have you done any masses in Celtic at all?
Not in this country. No,
no?
What
Do
I'm
you know
talking
Celtic?
about. Yes, I do.
Could you say St.
Irish.
Patrick's Day for us in Celtic?
Yeah, La Fadric. This is St. Patrick's Day.
Okay, great.
Well,
Thank you very much, Father.
I need to get some kind of ideas from you talking to her about my book. What I did is I was making class, like photo class. Sandwich.
I'm hoping to find them okay. Every minute that goes on now, it's a little more questionable what condition they'll be in.
Okay.
I'm looking to see about...
The act is good news to people like Sue of Duluth. She's had several orders for protection against her abusive ex-husband, but they haven't prevented the beatings. As a last resort, Sue recently bought a gun to protect herself. It's also good news for Sandy Johnson, whose daughter was murdered just before Christmas by her abusive husband. It's good news because it shows the federal government is now taking violence against women seriously.
For too long, domestic violence has been considered purely a private matter. From now on, it is a problem we all share.
We have seen here in Duluth murder after murder committed by husbands and boyfriends. The Violence Against Women Act included, released by the President yesterday, $26 million to begin to start to work on the problem.
The President has appointed former Iowa Attorney General Bonnie Campbell to head up the new Justice Department office.
I do know what a challenge it is. I'm convinced we're going to succeed.
Duluth Police Chief Scott Lyon says the funding will be a major help in their efforts to curb domestic violence.
Well, it's nothing new to us. We know it happens, but what's encouraging from our perspective is that predominantly women in violent situations feel that they can come forward and feel that there's somebody that cares.
It'll be about 2 weeks before advocacy and support groups know how much of the $26 million might be available in the Northland and how it would be distributed. In Duluth, Barbara Riles, Channel 6 News.
And we focus people's attention.
In, meanders,
There's a couple of routes, but this is the main route. I'm sure all of us that walk.
There are two main reasons that we want to build Hartley Nature Center. One is environmental education, and the other is that we want to keep that piece of land as natural as possible.
The Hilltop chapter will be represented on the board. We started talking, but thus far just hasn't.
Okay, sign away.
The benefit would be that there will be more people involved and therefore more housing being constructed in the area and around the outlying districts also.
They were going to do, revise that, what we call, what I call policy statements. It's not on paper, no, but it's in agreement.
Now, we're agreeing that
Yeah, we've had a fairly decent year. We've got very good skier visits. We've had good revenue, and I think we'll have an overall very strong year.
That's correct. The emergency response team is expanding all efforts to try to talk the individual out of the residence.
When the sub-captain's Geiger counter went off and he surfaced, he was very excited and sure at the time that he indeed detected something radioactive.
Involved with the Des Moines project and asked him if he knew anything about it, and he said he assumed.
Councilor Dahlberg. This is for just open comments? Not yet? Okay. Okay. Reports of officers? At this time, any administration reports?
Certainly, President Keenan and councilors. I'd like to address an issue with some erroneous conversation that took place this afternoon.
Paragraph that was deleted, and earlier today, after I said what was erroneous between Mr. Scorich and Mr. Atkins concerning.
I think the least we can do is have all barrels checked for radioactivity, all the different forms of radioactivity. I'm not a scientist, but there's gamma and other rays, but if all barrels were tested for radioactivity, this could be done.
These are household issues. The staff will do our normal staff. Well, we know that the information that I have is that at one point
Was no radiation.
we had a hit we made a pass over an area and there was a hit. We couldn't duplicate it. Brought it up, they found an instrumentation error, and we went back down again and never could get a reading anymore. So we felt that was an instrumentation problem that needed and was repaired, and we never were able to duplicate that.
What's a hit, Chuck?
A hit was they got a signal on the Geiger counter, whatever they were using to detect, you know.
It was October 15th, 1990. The Army Corps of Engineers had hired Harold Maynard and his submarine to probe the bottom of Lake Superior for barrels. From his home in New York, Captain Maynard tells us, as a precaution on that dive, he took on board a Geiger counter provided by the Army Corps of Engineers.
And as I turned towards the barrel, about 30 foot off the bottom, I got a nuclear Geiger counter went off, started clicking. I turned towards the barrel, and when I got almost to the barrel, it went off again. And it was clicking again, low level.
When Maynard resurfaced, Corps officials went over his sub with a Geiger counter. Maynard says it went off as it moved over the line that tethered the sub to surface crafts.
When he got near that tether with that Geiger counter, it took off. It went right up the line. You could hear it just rattling, click, 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 click.
Bob Dempsey of the Army Corps of Engineers then went back down with Captain Maynard to read the levels himself. In a telephone interview, he tells us, "We anchored ourselves as close to the same spot as possible for a good hour. We could never repeat Mr. Maynard's readings." But Maynard says the Corps refused to go back to the spot where the radioactivity was detected.
The nuclear readings that I got, the little low-level ones, were in the south of this barrel field. They wouldn't let me go back there again. They kept me to the north and to the east.
As far as these stories, you know, I'm starting to get really tired of it.
Chuck Williams, the director of the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency, admits they got a radioactive reading, but says the whole thing is being blown out of proportion.
I think that he is mistaken, and if he's willing to step forward and show us the documentation, we'll certainly take a look at it, but I don't think he can do that.
Maynard says he has done it. He says he signed a sworn affidavit saying that he encountered radioactive levels while scanning the mystery barrels. Now he says the whole thing is making him mad.
When they came back and said that the Corps had denied any reading, that really upset me, because now one of us is a liar, and I had no reason to lie.
Duluth environmentalists brought the issue before the City Council this week, and at the upcoming agenda session, councilors will take a deeper look. In Duluth, Barbara Riles, Channel 6 News.
The self-employed percentage that you're allowed to take off has not passed all the way through. It has passed the House and the Senate, and right now it's on the President's desk to be signed. He has indicated that he will sign it, but as to when, we're not sure. So at this point, they're still not allowed to take it.
Herb Bergson's 8-year tenure as Superior's mayor was full of surprises from the get-go. On April 7th, 1987, the Superior police officer upset Mayor Bruce Hagen by a little more than 100 votes.
I'm your average guy in the street that just happened to capture the imagination of some people at the right time.
Bergson says his highest points as mayor were the adoption of his sons and working on projects aimed at helping Superior's youth.
They said he was a fair mayor, but he was the best dad on earth. That'd be okay with me.
Bergson says his mayoral career hit rock bottom in 1992 when his home was the target of an arson fire.
That turned our family upside down for a couple of years. So there was months when I had a hard time functioning professionally and personally.
Just 1 month earlier, a Burlington Northern train carrying benzene plunged into the Nemadji River, sending a toxic cloud over the Twin Ports. Following the spill, Bergson said he was angry that the city didn't get tougher on the railroad.
And I'm fed up with doing what's politically proper and what's right for the people. I'm sick and tired and fed up with all that crap. And the sooner it stops, the better. We want to do what's right here for the people, period. That's it.
Despite the bad times, Bergson says he's enjoyed being mayor, and we shouldn't count him out as a possible candidate for mayor of Duluth.
We're moving back, and I think that started the talk. And I'd be lying to you if I ever said that I don't dream about it. And that's home. And to be able to do this job back home would be an honor.
But for now, Herb Bergson's office is nearly empty. He's packing up and heading across the bridge for home.
Well, it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard to go. I've had a lot of good times here. People in this office were, they were pretty good to me. And I'm going to miss them.
In Superior, Gina Katzmark, Channel 6 News.
Constitution of the State of Wisconsin, have read Chapter 6209 of Wisconsin statutes, and will faithfully discharge the duties as mayor to the best of your ability, so help you God? I will. Congratulations. Affirm that you will support the Constitution of the United States. Congratulations. Yes, Laura. There you go.
Okay, just do it. Concerned that if the drinking age lowers, then the underage drinking age is going to lower too.
It hasn't been nearly the problem since the drinking age was changed back in the 80s. And that significantly reduced the problems for the Superior Police Department when that was changed.
Competing with one or two neighborhoods in Duluth. And so what we need is a comprehensive city plan so that we aren't just one little neighborhood fighting either for or against development.
As a real estate developer, George Haney knows the problems firsthand. Trying to balance environmental concerns with the need for jobs and neighborhood autonomy often results in confusion.
Where actually the city has designated areas that are going to be green and areas that they have told neighbors and neighborhoods that these spaces which are not designated green are going to be available for development.
Working with the public through a series of meetings, the Vision 2001 committee has developed 3 scenarios. The first envisions Duluth as an urban wilderness where environmental concerns are paramount. The second sees the city as a neighborly place where strong neighborhood councils bring the community together and give everyone a voice. The third, a place embracing innovation, where bold development ideas and higher education expand our job base. Committee members hope the public will take these 3 scenarios and develop a preferred vision, hopefully containing elements from all 3, setting community priorities. From that vision, a plan will emerge to carry Duluth into the next century.
A big thing, I think, with garbage and waste is that there's so much that you have to do now.
Put it out and we kind of let people know. Do you get early birds too, like they try and get a lot?
Yard waste can't go into the garbage. It's banned from the landfills. It's banned from the garbage. You can't put it in your garbage can. It doesn't make any sense to throw it in the garbage because it's so easily recycled into material that can be returned to the earth.
they leave the impression that
The president
by
threw
their
down the
very
gauntlet
words
in his
that
speech
violence
yesterday.
is
Hatred on the airwaves must
you
stop.
ought to see. I'm sure you are now seeing the reports of some things that are regularly said over the airwaves in America today. Well, people like that who want to share our freedoms must know that their bitter words can have consequences.
Conservatives read between the president's lines and immediately charged him with playing politics over Oklahoma City. Locally, hosts say the talk radio in and of itself isn't the problem.
It's nonsense. I disagree with Bill Clinton. I agree in this one instance with Rush.
Today, the White House downplayed Clinton's comment by saying he didn't single out anyone, especially Rush Limbaugh. Today on his national show, Limbaugh appealed for calm.
Oh, I think that we need some calm in this situation. I think we need to reduce the hysteria that surrounds all of this. And we need to try to get back to a reasonable discussion.
But locally, some Northland conservatives are offended by what they see as a presidential double standard, accusing conservatives of sowing discord when he himself led Vietnam War protests.
I think he evidently forgot that he not only demonstrated but organized demonstrations against his government during the Vietnam War in front of the American Embassy in England, and let him not forget that.
We say that ignorance of the laws is no excuse, but ignorance of reality is excusable.
While the accusations swirl, the talk continues. In Duluth, Jeff Papich, Channel 6 News.
Now, I'm sorry, I'm not a G. Gordon Liddy fan, but I had
crabs at a cost of $20 each, or 40 Japanese ivory lilac.
There's a couple of them by that have tension.
Yes, we like to continue the relations. And it's more fun to give when you know people, specific people and agencies that you're giving to.
Well, I'll take it, Lynn.
And the Black Pirates making across the finish line. Yeah. Built-in sales. Unfortunately,
The scenes are familiar. Civilians trying to escape, panic in the streets. The city of Saigon fell 20 years ago today. And now, it's time to remember. Duluthian Bob Woods served near Saigon in a Marine Air Wing in 72 and 73. Now he's the commander of Duluth VFW Post 137. Ask him what his emotions are on this day, and he'll tell you, quite frankly.
A betrayal to the 58,000 men who died in Vietnam.
Amid the human drama that was the war in Vietnam, questions arise, even after 20 years.
Every time I think of Vietnam, which is quite often, of wondering why we were there. And why did we give up all these lives of our men?
At one time, maybe Woods thought he knew, as did many of the servicemen who fought in Southeast Asia. Now former officials like Robert McNamara say they were wrong to fight the war in the first place. But Woods says he shouldn't come to vets looking for sympathy.
I don't feel sorry for him. He sits there and cry on TV saying that what he did was wrong and whatever, but I mean, he's got to live with it. It's his mistake. 58,000 graves are because of people like him.
But now, 20 years later, today marks just another day in the lives of Vietnam vets who are moving on with their lives, though some find it easier than others.
Some of them left Vietnam the day they left there. Some of them carry it with them every minute of their day. I think it depends on the personality of the individual.
In Duluth, Jeff Pappas, Channel 6 News.
You'll say it's the local people that are having them because they're more lax in what their surroundings are. If you're from the, not from the area, you're more concentrated on your highway and your signs and where you're going.
It's rarely life-threatening.
Then when they grow older, they need to keep their vaccinations up. If they don't, and most adults are bad at keeping their vaccinations up, are we setting this generation up for one more problem that we don't experience now?
Yeah, getting drugs approved, the AIDS things. Well, one more class at University of Minnesota, I go back to Minneapolis.
You're speaking to?
George Keeney's class is one I did this morning, and he saw me and he remembered who I was, so he said, would you come back this afternoon? I've forgotten his name.
With the rush of the Lester River, the smelt run. One sure sign of spring has been nights like this with a grill and a few smelt. But these shores haven't seen nearly as much traffic this year. On a day like today, you'll find more people fishing for steelhead than you will smelt. The DNR says that's because over the years there's been a rapid decline in the smelt run. Part of the decline in smelt may be because they're not native to Lake Superior. In the mid-40s, smelt got into the lake by accident. They found their habitat and overpopulated. But there may be another reason for the decline.
We've also had a lot of predators out there that have been feeding on smelt. Lake trout have come back. We put Chinook salmon in. So there's a lot of predators, and that's probably decreased the abundance of smelt also.
So will we ever see a boom of smelt again? John Schreiner isn't so sure.
We really don't think there's anything we can do. If the smelt are going to be here, they're going to be here. And if they're declining, there's not very much we can do to actually bring them back.
You can still catch smelt fishing hopefuls that have been netting on the Lester and Knife Rivers at night. Still, the DNR says this year's smelt run will be later than normal and smaller than normal.
In Duluth, Molly McMillan, Channel 6 News.
We've experienced much that same thing here. I think our figures last year we're probably up about 20% over previous experience, at least the last 3 to 4 years.
Mayor Doty announced last week that 2 of the final hurdles for the Bayfront Mall have been cleared, the financial backing and 50% of the tenants. But the mayor also said he could not share who the financial backer was, nor who the tenants will be, not even with city councilors.
Since this project has some public involvement in terms of bonding, none of which will cost taxpayers anything, some of those confidential elements needed to be shared with us.
The mayor has maintained the project will cost the taxpayers nothing, but not everyone sees it that way.
What he forgets to mention is if the mall succeeds. If the mall does not succeed, it's the taxpayers who are on the hook.
And there are those who feel that the mall has become something more for Mayor Doty than just a project. Some feel it has become symbolic of his effort to get reelected.
It has become such a jewel in the mayor's crown for his reelection that he's been willing to do things that I think are probably not wise for the future of the city of Duluth.
And according to Ken Hogue, the original development agreement indicates that city councilors and DETA members should be able to see who the financial backer is and who the tenants are. Hogue says if councilors don't get to see, they shouldn't vote to approve the mall at all.
When Carol Thompson got the call from her son that the Phoenix building was on fire again, her heart sank.
I think what was going through my mind when I was driving down is, dear Lord, please don't let it get out of control. And then when I came up the avenue, I parked in the exact same spot that my husband and I parked in the first time, and it was like deja vu.
Last December 21st, Carol was at home sleeping while firefighters battled what ended up being the most expensive fire in the state. While they climbed ladders, she tried to save her store.
And all I could think of was getting in here and getting the photo finishing of our customers removed from the premises.
This month was supposed to be a new beginning for John Markshausen. He owns the jewelry store on 3rd floor that just opened May 1st.
I don't know if the shock of the whole thing is now kind of starting to kick in. The first 4 months wasn't, the easiest ride for sure.
And in order to allow an on-land perimeter route around the entire exterior of the Kaptogama Peninsula, it was necessary to declare inoperative the Endangered Species Act to those 2 bays.
We've had training in how to talk to children who have been traumatized, who are young, and also how to conduct an investigative interview.
Sure. Who's that? Is that Babe Ruth? That looks like Babe Ruth to me.
Every Wednesday morning, Lou Campbell of Campbell Company Estate Services offers his expertise free of charge to treasure hunters.
It is worth...
It's worth $100 maybe?
I would say it's worth probably $50 to $100 easily.
For those who inherit them, Lou turns estates into cash. His job takes him into Northland attics and basements, from elegant mansions to humble homes, with one goal in mind: treasure.
From my standpoint, it's great to find the treasures. That's the big rush. It's finding the treasures, seeing them, and being involved with them.
Fine golden oak furniture to jigsaw puzzles to cartoon character dolls. Treasure comes in all sizes and shapes.
I would say in mint condition it was probably $1,000+. In this condition it's probably anywhere from three to four, possibly as high as $500.
For every collectible, there's a collector trying to find it. And the experts say the Northland is prime hunting ground.
Well, we have a lot of older homes, and I guess in our neck of the woods, people tended to save things. They didn't throw too much away, so consequently, a lot of it still exists.
Dan Sershawn of Northland Estate Services offers free appraisals once a month at the Duluth Depot. In the past 25 years, he's seen considerable change in the marketplace.
The arts and crafts movement furniture 15 years ago, you could hardly give it away. It was very, very inexpensive. Now, some pieces, because of their rarity and the maker, can run into the hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Both Lou and Dan recommend collectors become experts in their areas of interest. A good place to start is your local bookstore. At present, there are 20,000 books in print focusing on antiques and collectibles.
Become knowledgeable. Always buy perfection. Try to buy things that have a utilitarian purpose that you can put to use. And make sure it's something you enjoy, because even if you're disappointed in its investment potential, you're still going to have it to enjoy.
In Duluth, Michelle Lee for NBC News.
I think I bought a old light. I think I got about $95 for it, and I think I paid about $15 for it.
Benny Mihalski is a 40-year veteran of the auction circuit. On Auction Saturday, you'll find him looking for bargains. He's amazed at how prices have climbed over the years.
Fishing tackle is, it's unreal what some of the old plugs and the older spoons.
The Haskell minnow, which there's been a number of them found in this area, commonly switches hands for $4,000, $5,000, $6,000. And I know of one that sold at auction about 2 years ago for $21,000.
Steve Wesley is also on the auction circuit, but you won't find him bidding. He's the auctioneer.
$1 bid not two divided two. Sold $1 number.
Fishing tackle aside, you can still find big bargains. A table and chair for just $1, or how about a typewriter for $5, or a motorcycle for $25. With a poker-faced nod or a nonchalant wave, savvy treasure hunters are striking it rich, and you can too.
One of the first things a person has to do is pick up a bidding card. Come with me. Good morning.
Hello, how are you?
I need a bidding card.
Oh, okay. I just need your driver's license. Okay, that, and I'll imprint that in here. And with that,
thank you.
Just need your signature, and then you'll be ready to go.
The next step is to spot your treasure and jump in when the bidding begins. Hold your card high. Don't worry about making a false move.
There's not an auctioneer out there, I don't believe, that would ever want to take a bid from somebody who doesn't want to actually bid. And it's a fallacy to think if you scratch your nose or you wave to a friend that you're going to end up owning some relic for $100. That only happens on the Mary Tyler Moore Show.
One of the best pieces of advice for people going to an auction is to set your limit and stay there. If you don't, you're opening yourself up for a bad case of auction fever.
It's basically somebody wants something and somebody else wants it. Two people are going after it, and somebody doesn't want to back down. As simple as that.
Old timers tell me the faces in the crowd are growing younger at auctions, that a new generation is beginning to crowd around the auctioneer. Many will tell you it's the lure of the treasure.
They're starting to see what they've been missing.
Two sold, $1, thank you.
Near Kettle River, Michelle Lee for NBC News.
I don't see anything spectacular in here, but still enough where it's an interesting box.
Marbles confiscated from little boys 40 years ago by Two Harbors schoolteacher Clara Eck. When Clara passed away, her niece and nephew asked licensed appraiser Lou Campbell to help evaluate Clara's treasures.
It's a nodder.
It's a what?
It's what they call a nodder.
Well, the head nods, yeah.
Yeah. I would say you're probably looking at, I'd say $30 to $70. And you're looking at probably, $50 to $75 there.
In less than an hour, Clara's family was surprised to learn many of her things were highly collectible.
Oh, there were lots of surprises. Things that I didn't realize were valuable, and lots of surprises.
Some of the things that we were going through, you said, oh my gosh, I was going to throw that out.
Vases, some pictures.
After setting aside special keepsakes, Clara's family hired Mary Risky to liquidate the rest of her estate.
From dishes to Lawrence Welk records, we've got it all.
Mary's sales are a big event in Two Harbors. As soon as the doors open, treasure hunters eagerly snatch up antiques and collectibles at half the appraised price.
It's a lot of fun. It's that first rush of people and everybody's standing in line, and it's fun.
Julie Ninus was seeking treasure for her patients at a veterans home.
Well, these are going to be collectibles, these Reader's Digest, and they have like all the good oldies on them. And the Lawrence Welk they really like. Frankie Yankovic, you get them play the polka and they love it.
Everybody can find a treasure somewhere, something that's going to mean something to them that may not mean anything to someone else.
You never know what you're going to find, and sometimes I pick up even things I wear for work. Let's see, not this shirt. I had a rummage sale shirt on yesterday that I wore to work, and it was made out of silk, and I got like lots of compliments.
Grandpa, you did. Mine.
In Two Harbors, Michelle Lee for NBC News.
Oh, 17, I have you come in quick.
There's like a fever. I don't know exactly what it is, but you can see it in the people when they're getting ready to go in. There's like, put your track shoes on, and it's kind of like an old Jerry Lewis movie where the women are outside the shopping center and they want to get in there for the sale, you know. Basically, my father's a treasure hunter, and he's the one who
Was up early.
You don't want to miss the sale, so
No.
we're here and yeah, finding all kinds of antiques.
No, I bought the chair and I bought another rocking chair. Okay, I'll take this one here.
No. 11. Well, their lineup at the checkout is unreal. All right. What are we up to? 34, 35, 36 to 37.
Is it old? When we get sisters together, we like to shop, so yeah. I just moved here from Salt Lake, and they don't have antiques in Salt Lake like they do in Duluth, so I'm really gonna, my husband's gonna have to put the kibosh on me. Right. Not to go overboard with the antique sales here, but I love Duluth, and I love the town, and like the antiques.
Out in the press conference. When we talked about the numbers of jobs, they said the 30%, we based it on the 1,000 jobs. They've come back and says, no, it's based on the numbers of hours. So in that sense, we disagree.
Feels great. It's a pretty big relief to be able to hang the books up and hang the book bag up and go home and relax for a little while.
Jay and Greg will be coming over here.
Let's start with Duluth City Hall. It's a bustling place, people going in and coming out all day long. And the top brass certainly seem busy, but are they worth over 3 times what you're earning? Here's the salaries of some non-elected city department heads. They range from just over $55,000 to almost $70,000 a year. According to the Minnesota Department of Economic Security, the average salary for a taxpayer in northeastern Minnesota is $21,900. That's just under a third what those department heads get.
Of course, we all aren't department heads, but a spokesperson for the Minnesota Department of Economic Security says the average executive salary in northeastern Minnesota still falls far short of the average government executive salary.
The average Northland upper-level executive is earning around $36,000 a year, about half what most city department heads are getting, and you're footing the bill.
If I were a private sector employee, I'd be certainly looking at trying to get a job in City Hall.
And we haven't even mentioned the benefits for these city employees. City leaders tell us their perks and packages are worth 40% of their salaries. So taking a look back at our salaries chart, you'll see those department heads are now earning an average of almost $100,000 a year. The average private sector benefits package is worth only about 15% of their annual salary. And the gap is just as wide over at St. Louis County. The average department head salary is over $70,000 there. That's more than 3 times what the average Northland taxpayer earns and almost twice what the average Northland executive makes. County department heads' benefit packages are a little closer to yours. They vary from 15% to 20% of their annual salaries. Adjusted for bennies, the salaries look like this. It's this glaring difference between the people who are paying these salaries, the taxpayers, and government workers that's causing some lawmakers to question whether it's fair.
You know, how can this group of people support this other group of people who are way up here in wages when their wages are down here and the other wages are way up here? How do they support them?
With the federal axe hanging over state and local units of government, some lawmakers say it's time to make some changes, and government salaries are ripe for the slashing. In Duluth, Barbara Riles, Channel 6 News.
State official could be paid.
Representative Steve Wenzel thinks taxpayers in Minnesota are overburdened. He says the average worker just doesn't earn enough money to pay the kind of taxes they're asked to fork over to support government workers' salaries.
The situation is becoming aggravated and the disparities are widening.
A Channel 6 News investigation shows a huge gap between public and private workers. In this case, Duluth and St. Louis County versus Northland executives. Representative Wenzel has drafted a bill calling for state-enforced salary caps for government workers. But hard as he lobbies, his bill is getting nowhere. Representative Dick Pello looked at county workers' salaries throughout the state and said they were too high. So he drafted a bill calling for limits there.
I think there's a lot of people out there who are just as well qualified that will work for a lot less money.
But he hasn't been able to drum up much support among other lawmakers for his plan either. Lawmakers who support these bills say they won't necessarily solve the problem of public-private salary unbalance, but they say they will at least serve to draw attention to the situation. Government spokesmen say it will just make it impossible to attract quality people.
But when people begin to limit your pay and artificially limit your pay and say, no, we're not going to allow you to receive any more money, well, that tells you that it might be a place you don't want to work. And it will discourage good people from coming into a community and working.
Many legislators are dependent on the government officials in their districts to help them get reelected.
And I'm telling my colleagues who are getting enormous pressure from the public interest lobbies like the League of Cities, the Minnesota Association of Counties, Hennepin County spends millions of dollars to hire well-heeled lobbyists to come down here to persuade us to spend more money so that they can pay these enormous salaries.
The bill's authors say that pressure has made it extremely difficult to get legislative support for limiting those government workers' salaries. In St. Paul, Barbara Riles, Channel 6 News.
The motion prevails.
Thank you.
Wish you luck, so I'll try it first. Wish you luck, wish you luck, wish you luck. Then you sing with me. We'll miss you a lot and we all wish you luck. Try it.
Ever widening more. But I think in our country there's strong consensus to not get involved in a ground war there. So it's going to be a matter of what the United Nations does and in what ways we can strengthen that.
It's construction season in Hibbing. The work has begun and already the downtown area is choked with detour signs and orange pylons. The message is clear what merchants think of construction. They don't want it ending up on their shop floors. City Administrator Wayne Dahlke says the business owners will reap benefits in the long run.
Well, it's going to hurt him for the short term, but our hope is that it will really help him in the long term because it'll make for a much nicer shopping area and for conveniences. It's going to be prettier, more attractive.
By the end of the summer, First Avenue is expected to be not only repaved, but much improved. However, the project means that there won't be many places to park around here, and small business owners say that could hurt.
Well, I have to be worried about the short term because we employ almost 20 people, and that's going to be pretty tough during those months. I guess in the end, it'll probably look very nice.
I mean, it's a little bit of a pain for everybody. That's to be expected, but the net result will be so much worth any suffering that we do now that it'll be worthwhile.
We're looking forward to the, let's say, the looks of it will be much better, we're hoping. And in the long run, I guess it's one of those things we have to do.
If things go as planned, construction on First Avenue should be completed by the end of the summer. In Hibbing, Bill Lund, Channel 6 News. It's a case of being careful whom you hire. Emil Eugene Manila told Judge Hallenbeck today that he is self-employed in Duluth doing construction and remodeling jobs. But prosecutor John DeSanto revealed that is exactly how Manila met his alleged victim, by doing work at her home. Manila is charged with 3 counts of first-degree criminal sexual conduct, 1 count of second-degree assault, 1 count of kidnapping, and 1 count of violation of an order for protection. Prosecutors allege he raped a woman in her Duluth home May 22nd and 23rd and used firearms and terrorization during a 12-hour period of time. Manila was captured Saturday near Brule, Wisconsin after fleeing police for 5 days. A DNR officer spotted his white Beretta parked at the Winnebago canoe landing on the Brule River. Police officers surrounded the car, and after a short standoff, Manila gave up. A semi-automatic pistol was found on the seat of the car. Other highlights from today's hearing are that, according to DeSanto, the victim remains extremely frightened of Manila. Bond was set at $350,000. Also, the victim told police Manilow was wearing pink toenail polish at the time of the incident. Manilow, wearing jail-issued sandals, had removed the polish for today's hearing. One final note, Manilow did not have an attorney present in court today, although he did request a public defender. He's expected back in court for an omnibus hearing on June 21st. At the St. Louis County Courthouse, Bill Lunn, Channel 6 News.
That's not always possible because there are demands and mandates that government has.
Energy Regulatory Commission issued an order reserves because we were buying more expensive gas and hadn't reserved.
We're very happy with the operations of our utility by our operations division, our gas division. The people have done a marvelous job in scheduling and controlling peak demands, and that's how we end up passing it back to the customer.
The fire was mostly contained to the kitchen area. The rest of the house, the rest of the apartment was mostly water and smoke damage, and the other two apartments just suffered minimal smoke damage.
Lake Erie was the first major battleground, and the tiny zebra mussel has proven a formidable foe. The mollusk is native to European waters and is believed to have been accidentally imported in the ballast waters of ocean-going ships. It wreaks havoc by firmly attaching itself to the walls of municipal and industrial water intakes. Its sheer numbers clog the system so no water can get in.
They grow on solid objects, and then they grow on top of each other, and eventually can completely close a water tube, water pipe.
Probably because Lake Superior is so cold, the zebra mussel hasn't thrived here. But there is a population base, and scientists are keeping a careful eye on it. To make sure it doesn't get into their water intake, the Water Quality Lab will install a special filter this summer.
This is a preventative measure that will not only zebra mussels, but any introduced species that's here now or could arrive in the future that we don't know about.
The underwater filter system will be installed by Marine Tech Incorporated of Duluth.
The fact that it's a sand filter, there's nothing there for the zebra to plug up. This is the technology used in Europe, where they've had zebra mussels for centuries.
The new system will cost about $300,000. Work is expected to begin in August. At the EPA Water Quality Lab in Duluth, Barbara Riles, Channel 6 News.
burglars broke into a home near the Ore Docks in Duluth on Monday, May 8th, about 10 o'clock in the morning. They made sure no one was home and then tried to kick in a door with a deadbolt lock. When that failed, they found a secluded window which they managed to break open. The burglars took their time and searched everywhere in the house. They finally stole some jewelry and a VCR. The total value was over $1,200. This was just one of 13 burglaries reported in the West End since April 21st. Most of them occurred at night, but some of them have been reported during the day. Do you have any information about these burglaries? Crime Stoppers will pay you up to $1,000 to find out who these crooks are and get back the stolen property. We won't ask your name, so you will remain anonymous. Call us at 1-800-974-TIPS or 723-ENOUGH.
Lowering frown at a bearded elderly man in a baseball cap who sits at the bar.
They're really a way for people who are blind to make use of some of the video cassettes that we have. There's a very limited number. We only have 19 at this time. But the normal dialogue and a description, the normal dialogue and music and other sound effects are intact.
It may be a long, hot summer along the Canadian border. Several issues are on the minds of area residents and tourists that may change Voyageurs National Park as we know it. The most controversial is a proposal to downgrade Voyageurs National Park status. It's a backlash from some residents who feel they don't have input into rules governing the land on which some of them live.
This micromanagement of the enforcement of regulations and policies, many of that are made in Washington, impact the citizens. They don't have a say in it.
Milt Knoll chairs the Citizens Council on Voyageurs, a 17-member advisory council made up of state legislators and citizens. The group met today to hear public testimony on the issue. Knoll says people are frustrated.
If you look at the National Park Service, on their studies, they're all done internally. And no input, generally, until they go to a public hearing. At that time, it's too late.
While the issue of decertification grabs the headlines, there's another issue in the park that's equally as important. It pits industry against tourism with millions of dollars at stake. The issue? Water. Or rather, how much of it remains in Rainy Lake. Boise Cascade uses the water to make paper, but resort owners say lake levels are too low in the spring. That drives away valuable tourism.
We're talking basically the first month of the season, you're probably talking in the millions of dollars of lost tourism directly to the area.
Progress has been made on the issue. The council's steering committee and Boise have a compromise agreement in the works, but the public debate on the park is only just beginning. In International Falls, Jeff Pappas, Channel 6 News.
The Dairy Queen on London Road in Duluth was burglarized early Wednesday morning, May 17th. Someone kicked open the side door and searched inside for money. The burglar knew there was money hidden somewhere inside and searched until he found it. He passed up valuable equipment and took only the cash. The store has improved its security since the burglary, and if anyone does get in, they won't find any money. Do you know who this burglar is? Do you have information on any criminal activity in the Northland? Crime Stoppers will pay you up to $1,000 in cash for tips on crimes of the week or other crimes you know about. We also pay for information on fugitives, drugs, and the location of stolen property. We never ask your name, so you will remain anonymous. Call us at 1-800-974-TIPS or 723-ENOUGH.
we're looking into it. Yeah, pick it up.
Got hung up and jerked me down. I was hung up and I was trying to get free, get up as close as I could to the bull and get to my feet. He jerked me down again. He had a lot of power. It was a light bull, quick, and just pulled me down. I believe I got a horn in the face, and that's about all I remembered.
The meters have been silent at WELY for over 2 months now. A messy ownership dispute forced the station off the air April 12th and eventually into receivership. Veteran newscaster Charles Kuralt is now the owner, and preparations are underway to hopefully return to the air July 1st. Mike Hillman is Kuralt's choice as general manager, and he can't wait to get back on the air.
And it wasn't until April, when it went off the air, that people realized, myself included. I knew I would miss it, but I never realized how much I would miss it.
A public meeting was held last night to give the new management citizen input, and station officials got the same message.
So many of our senior citizens said that, oh my gosh, we start our day every day by turning on the radio to WELY to find out what the news and the weather's going to be and the obituaries, and we miss that so much.
When the power switch is flipped July 1st and WELY returns to the air, it'll be an emotional day for broadcasters and the community that will have rediscovered its voice.
And my father's 83 and said to me a month ago, he said, you know, if I find out 5 days later that another old friend has passed away and was buried yesterday, he said, I don't know what I'm going to do.
That kind of station is what residents and owner Kuralt want to see again. The format will continue to be eclectic, from 60s to polka to classical to maybe even reggae, making the station a tapestry as colorful as the town it serves. In Ely, Jeff Pappas, Channel 6 News.
I'll make a prediction that I think we're going to see.
From overhead, the fire cuts fingers of smoke and flame through the Boundary Waters canoe area. So far, it has burned 2,500 acres and continues to burn slowly because there's not much wind out here. The Forest Service is using 3 of these de Havilland Beaver float planes in order to fly supplies into the area. Now, they're not too concerned about the spread of the fire for now, but if it should decide to spread across various portages in the area, they want to be prepared to head it off.
56 Bravo Hotel, dispatch.
At the command center in Ely, this Forest Service employee is charting the area where the fire has burned and the area it is now burning based on radio reports from pilots flying overhead.
What you see here is already burned area. This is what's just currently burning, which is about 400 acres. What the fire has involved in the area is that it's moved over into Clearwater, so we have shut this portage and this one as far as through traffic and camping on these 2 lakes.
The fire started back on June 6th, the result of a bolt of lightning. It's been burning just to the north of Gabbro Lake, about 13 miles southeast of Ely. The Forest Service says if you're planning a trip to the Boundary Waters, you have nothing to worry about.
But otherwise, with the exception of the few portages that are closed right within the fire area, trips can be gone on as usual.
Forest Service officials are not looking at this fire as though it's bad news. They say forest fires like this one are a natural phenomena that enrich the soil and create a diversity of habitat for the many species that live in the Boundary Waters. In Ely, Bill Lunn, Channel 6 News. In Ely, Minnesota, Bill Lunn for NBC News.
We're going to bring it out way out in the woods somewhere, or an area where it can recover and then be back in its own habitat.
Okay, so you consider this a success?
Yes, a success.
Okay. Thanks for the help, guys. Okay. You bet. Thank you, gentlemen. Yeah.
Okay, now.
Sounds great. Okay. Keep going.
On the outside, it looks much the same as it did when it was built in 1892, and on the inside, you'd be surprised. Judy Garland's childhood home has been carefully renovated and is now a museum. And to help celebrate the opening, a special treat: 3 of the 16 living former Munchkins from The Wizard of Oz. If you don't recognize their faces, let us jog your memory.
Coroner, I must aver, I thoroughly examined her, and she's not only merely dead, she's really most sincerely dead. Break down the wicked and run your eyes, get out of bed. Break up the wicked witch is dead. We represent the lollipop kill, the lollipop kill, the lollipop kill.
In the name of the lollipop killed, we wish to welcome you to Munchkin Land.
The house is pure nostalgia, restored to the way it looked when Garland lived here in 1925.
It was on this landing that the young Judy Garland performed piano reviews with her sisters here in Grand Rapids. This is her home, and that's a fact that's not lost on those that are here.
When there were a few minutes that we'd get to relax, I think back, just think, I'm in Judy Garland's house. And so when I heard that they were, shall we say, moving it out here to make a separate park out of it, why, I thought it was a tremendous idea.
Of course, there's plenty of Oz memorabilia to be had, which is fine to the former Munchkins, who are only too happy to pay tribute to Garland's legend.
It's a great American fairy tale. There's no place like home.
There's no place like home. There's no place like home.
In Grand Rapids, Jeff Papich, Channel 6 News.
What happens? Site restoration just means that they're going to regrade so that it's unfortunate that the handlers put it in the backyard in the lagoon and that it's sitting there. We're very fortunate that the native soils in this area are peat and that that's held the contamination on site.
They searched from the air, manned four-wheelers to access rough terrain, used professional tracking dogs to comb the dense thicket, and took to the Cannon River, hoping that was the one place they wouldn't find 4-year-old Jessie Swanson. But by dusk, the professionals and dozens of volunteers wearily returned to the command post, having failed to find the child. Then the fire chief uttered the words they were dreading. He told them to go home.
Tonight, I don't think we can do much more. And for all purposes, I think if everybody just discontinued the search, didn't try anything on your own, and tomorrow we'll get grouped together and get a little better organized, do like I said, be down there at 10 o'clock in the morning.
They looked as lost as the little girl for whom they had searched so tirelessly. And finally, a devastated father made a desperate plea.
If somebody took her, please just don't harm her, drop her off at a police station, a library, any place. Just, I'd like to see her again. You know, I miss her.
I've taken the position that I'm going to wait for the recommendations for the CDC, wait for the recommendations from the American Academy of Pediatrics, the American Academy of Family Practice, and the local practicing pediatricians.
Basically what we're looking at here.
The building is over there.
Building over northwest.
There's no changes. You're telling me something that I haven't heard.
No.
People can expect to see the steel frame of the building going up in early August. So when you're taking off from the airport, you should be able to look out and see some nice looking steel frames. But the facility is on schedule, and providing the weather stays in close contact with us and doesn't get out of control, I expect to see the building up and running by September 1.
Well, now we have to check the boards and see how many actually broke. He got through, I believe, 500 boards, if I'm not mistaken. But I can.
I have an answer. I feel like it is finally over. We've been through this for quite some months now. We're not happy. We're still saddened about the loss of our daughter.
From the Duluth area or from the Twin Cities area, I talked to some cousins and family members from the metro area. Did people come from all over the state? Yeah.
And I don't think that would be any problem attending the regular meetings of the board.